will specify.
To begin.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. This is the Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 meeting of the Housing and Economic Development Committee. At 3:02, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I appreciate everybody for understanding my need to be remote today. A couple of weeks ago, I lost a key employee, and it's just been a little hectic here at work. So trying to get several things accommodated and balance multiple responsibilities. So appreciate everyone's understanding. Are there any changes to the agenda today?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any public comment requested?
Not in chambers, nope, and not online.
Okay. Because I am remote, we do have to take a roll call vote for the minutes. So I'll work my way around the room, starting with Deborah. But if I could have someone move the May 7th, 2025 minutes, moved by Deborah, seconded by Travis. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, Deborah?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Ann Koreman?
Yes.
Veronica?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Those pass unanimously. I have next on the chair's report the confirmation of the July Housing and Economic Development Committee meeting. It is Wednesday, July the 2nd. Because it fell before the holiday and the holiday observed, I felt no reason to suggest changing that. But if there's overwhelming consensus for members of the committee that it needs to be adjusted or changed, I'd entertain that discussion at this point. But if that's not an issue for anyone, I say we leave it as scheduled for July the 2nd.
You don't have to change it, but I will not be here.
I won't be here
Okay.
either. I won't be. I'm going to be on vacation, and I'm planning to attend the meeting remotely, but not being able to vote, and of course not counting for quorum.
I also
So
will not be able to be here July 6th.
I think
Sounds
you're
like
going
it's
to
a
have
problem.
to change it.
Change is coming. When will folks be back from vacation?
I'll be back the
Or-
8th.
The 8th?
Yes.
I'll be back.
Travis?
Probably the 8th.
Okay. Veronica?
14th.
Okay. And Ann?
13th.
13th. Okay, so we need to have 4 members present. So what I'm going to ask the clerks to do is circulate a couple of options, either the week of the 9th or the week of the 16th, depending. Because if Veronica and Annie aren't going to be back to the 13th or 14th, we need to make sure at least we have Deborah, myself, Travis, and Mike in chambers.
Sounds good. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, so we'll get working on that. I'm glad we brought that up. I don't have an additional chair's report, but county administrator's report. I see Corsa is joining us today.
Yes, thank you. So my report will be a very short one today. We just started our conversation with providers of our shelter business. We have 4 applicants. We reviewed 2 today, and the next set of 2 will be interviewed on Friday, and we will communicate the next steps after that review process. So it was a good engagement today. I think we have a lot of exciting prospects. So we are looking forward to Friday to see where we settled, and hopefully we can settle that quickly and start working with a provider to start shoring up and planning for our shelter development. That's my report.
Great, thanks, Corsa. That they were. There was a good start to that process, and excited to see how that pans out. Any questions for the county administrator? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to homeless and housing update. We have a report and discussion from our very own Liddy Barger, Director of Housing Initiatives at the Human Service Coalition. And Liddy was hoping to talk today about the current housing environment as it relates to the continuum of care and what you're seeing within the community.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Our internet in my office is a little weird, so I apologize if I'm like sound or look weird. Hopefully it'll get us through the presentation. So I think probably, my name is Liddy Barger. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Housing Initiatives here at Human Services Coalition and I coordinate the Continuum of Care. You have all heard from me about a lot of like homeless response system things in the past, and this is a little bit different, and this is a little bit maybe surfacey, but I just wanted to level set about some of the conditions that are mostly renters, but also other people are experiencing. So this is not solely focused on homeless response system stuff, but kind of a broader look at conditions. And with an emphasis on beginning a conversation in the community about how to better support housing stability and also targeting some of our prevention resources to promote some of that housing stability. But this is sort of just a start to that conversation and level setting. All right, I am going to share my screen. You can see?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's like a normal full size.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I don't know why that's so hard after like 5 years, right? Okay. So the mission of the Continuum of Care, as I think probably everyone in this space at this point has heard, is to work together across sectors to envision a community in which homelessness is rare, brief, and one time in Tompkins County. We have some strategies to do that. One of those is through this community-wide effort to prevent and end homelessness. And I kind of said this in the beginning, but historically the COC has really been focusing on people who are already experiencing literal homelessness. And in 2025 and beyond, we want to start thinking more about that prevent word in our strategies, which is why I highlighted it today. All right, so here we are in Tompkins County. And these are our area median income. So median is the middle. And these are really critical when you're thinking about the cost of housing, especially for renters in our community. And ours are pretty high. So here in 2025, 100% of area median income is $122,100 for a family of four. So what that looks like for, you can see the slide, but for somebody who's at 30% area median income is considered extremely low income. That looks like an income of $36,100 a year supporting that family. And beyond. This chart is pretty interesting, and you can take a look at it another time. It's important because this is part of the way that affordable housing, big A affordable housing projects set their rent rates. So it impacts the rent rates sort of across the community. So this is a chart that I made. This is like real people math, so it may be imperfect. But I was like, well, what does that really mean, right? So the standard, I think that's accepted by most people, is that people should be spending 30% of their gross income to pay for the cost of their housing. That's sort of like the basic accounting that we're all taught and aiming for. And so like, what is that? What can people afford to pay based on the wages that people are making? And I wanted to take a look at a family of four. And in this chart, we're thinking about 2 full-time workers and how much what their wages need to be to afford what rent. So, for example, in this example, for somebody in that extremely low income, 30% area median income range, two full-time employees would be making $9.25 an hour, which is low. The rent that they could reasonably afford using that metric, the 30% of their gross income, would be $902 a month. That's what logic tells, or, that's what this calculation tells us that they can afford. And we're talking about a family of 4, right? And then you can look through all the way up to 100% area median income, assuming 2 full-time adult earners in a household, and let's say a 4-bedroom, maybe a 3-bedroom apartment. So 2 adult or 2 full-time incomes who earn $15 an hour and working full-time can afford $1,504 for their rent, and so on. I find it very useful to really think all the way down to the wage level, because wage and the wage gap contributes to a lot of this housing insecurity. Great. These are our fair market rents. This is a number that is set by HUD every year and takes into account that area median income that we just discussed, and is what is considered fair market rent for our community. So you'll see, they're high. I know you have all probably sat in a lot of presentations where people said the rent is high. Here's just a little depiction of how high it is compared to some of our neighbors, right? So we're orange on the slides here. And you'll see that our fair market rent is higher than Cortland County, it's higher than Chemung County, it's higher than Onondaga County. Our rent is expensive.
Liddy, can I ask you a question?
Yes, I can't see you.
So,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
you've broken out what affordable rent is and what HUD has set as our fair market rent, but do you happen to know what the median rent is? The area median?
Like what the average that people are actually paying is?
What is it actually? Yes.
I could probably get you the exact number, and someone in the room might actually have it. My guess for this pretend family of 4, 3-bedroom in a 3-bedroom, I don't think people can find a new 3-bedroom for less than, let's say, $2,200 a month minimum.
So fair market rent aside, there just isn't housing available that's affordable for many of these groups.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And also, just like as a fun fact that you can put in your brain somewhere if you want, generally, programs like Section 8 voucher programs only pay up to 90% of fair market rent. So they're actually only able to search for apartments. Sometimes they can pay all the way up to 100% of fair market, but historically and traditionally, people who were looking for an apartment with that housing choice voucher had to look at 90% of fair market rent to find a unit that they could be approved for. Yes. Okay. This is a little snapshot of our conditions. So 4 out of 5 people who are currently experiencing homelessness in our continuum of care do not have a supportive housing or other unit to move into. This remains pretty constant year round. Occasionally there's like a little variability in additional availability in supportive units, but it's pretty much less than 1 a month, serving a list of over 100 people. 59% of the renters in the city of Ithaca are cost burdened. Cost burden means they're paying more than 30% of their income for rent. I tried to look for the whole county right before we came because I know it's slightly lower, but it's still over 50% of people across the county are cost burdened. Many of them are severely cost burdened. And then 1 in 3 people who are exiting our homeless response system to housing, inclusive of both supportive housing and housing that they're paying for out of their pocket without support services or rental assistance, are returning to our homeless response system within 2 years. There's a slide later that talks about some of the reasons that people state as they're returning, and some of those are evictions or unaffordable rent. So here at Human Services Coalition, so I'm usually wearing that COC hat, but we also do some other housing things. And my colleague, Brett Irish, has been working for many years working to prevent avoidable evictions, so usually non-payment evictions, and does a great job. And so I wanted to take a look at like how often are people calling, looking for assistance with what they're calling an eviction prevention. It could be a range of things like I'm worried I'm not going to be able to pay rent this month, all the way up to like I have a warrant of eviction. And in 2024, we had 988 of those calls. And Brett Irish, our housing specialist, was able to assist 162 of them with something, not necessarily like full-blown eviction prevention, but some kind of navigation or warm handoff. There were 313 eviction court filings in the city of Ithaca in 2024. So those are filings. Those are not all warrants that were issued, but that's how many people went through eviction court. So,
Libby, can I ask what happened in December on the previous slide?
I don't know. Look at that though, huh?
Yeah.
Something happened. I'll look into it.
It could be I wonder if those, do you count it, are these evictions for like non-payment, or could these
Those
essentially
are all, and the 313, the orange, those are the filings.
Those, that 235 is like non-renewals or things
No,
like that?
those are calls. Those are calls.
Okay.
The number is calls. So something happened where many people were calling about housing instability or eviction in that month. I'll double check because that is like such an outlier. But on this slide, the blue is calls, the orange are filings by month, and filings don't always result in like a warrant being issued, but that's just the number of filings per month. And then the yellow are Brett's actual clients that he was working with in that month. Does that make sense? Okay. But that is interesting.
The orange ones, though, what's the typical reason that someone seeks? I mean, is there a typical reason?
I think, so the majority of the city of Ithaca evictions are filed by like 3 properties, and the majority of them are non-payment related. That's the vast majority of what is seen in eviction court is non-payment from an affordable housing property. Yep.
So when you say housing specialist, tenants assisted, what's the assistance that we offer? Is it just that you pay the back
we offer?
Rent or?
No, in fact, we'll get to that. There's really very minimal resources for back rent. So it's usually things like connecting with Law New York, negotiating payment arrangements with the landlord, creating ways for the landlord. So a very common outcome for eviction proceedings is like the tenant agrees to leave, but so they aren't evicted and the arrears are forgiven and they move to a new place. So this 211 housing specialist in that case might be helping negotiate with the landlord or whoever, some of that stuff, but also then supporting the tenant in finding new housing. It's like a whole range of things, but the most common, your first question was what was the reason for the evictions, and non-payment is the most common.
Okay, thanks, Liddy.
Yeah. You'll see there's 2 reasons. There's eviction stuff is all publicly available, and there's really 2 reasons and they show up as non-payment or holdover, and holdover could be something that's like an actual holdover, like their lease had ended but they haven't vacated the unit, or that is where like behavior-based evictions or like things that have to do with not non-payment are categorized. So in HUD world, which is the world that I have spent the most of my time learning about a lot of this stuff, there's a very clear definition of homelessness. And you'll hear people say literal homelessness, street homelessness. And it doesn't include people who are couch surfing and people in other situations. And that line is always very clear because it sort of is where the assistance begins for homeless response system programs. So you must meet that definition of literal homelessness before certain resources can be essentially unlocked for you. And that is what it is and has been what it is and still is what it is. But HUD does also, and the state of New York, have a very clear definition for how a person who is at risk of homelessness would be defined. So with literal homelessness, there's like categories, right? And it's like you are either in this category or in this category, or you're not homeless. But this is more like a band of people that you can identify a lot of ways. So that definition is on the screen. So having that 30% area median income, which we had on the slide earlier, and having like insufficient resources and support networks to meet your need, which could mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And one of those things on the right side of the screen. So you are considered at risk of homelessness if you are under 30% area median income, don't have the resources, and have moved 2 or more times in the past 60 days, overcrowded conditions, doubled up, that living in the home of another due to economic hardship is what people often refer to as doubled up, and some of those other ones. And this is interesting. I have one more slide. These are some other factors that are known, that data tells us are likely to increase the risk of homelessness for people. So all of those other things are like the definition, and these are like the extra definition. So having had a previous experience of homelessness does make you more likely to experience a future episode of homelessness. System involvement, be that criminal justice or foster care or some of the other system involvement, does increase your likelihood of homelessness, history of foster care, and then that severe rent burden. So thinking about at-risk homelessness and how we can, because we know that population, right? When I was just explaining that at-risk slide, I bet, even everybody in this room could probably identify some people that fall into that category who are currently being underserved by existing homeless response system resources because of not meeting that definition that's able to, unlock the box of resources, although it is a small and paltry box. And so what we're trying to think about here at the COC this year and in other spaces is how to sort of widen the net of assistance, move further upstream in this targeted prevention model in order to better stabilize people in their housing and prevent that recurring, returns to homelessness that people are experiencing. That red line on this slide is kind of like that place that I was just talking about. Like that's where your box gets up. That's where you become homeless and you can access all those services. But look at all the space that comes before it, right? There's a lot of places that we could bolster our safety net so that people don't have to become basically in their most dire situation before they're able to access resources. One of those things that we're sort of able to experiment right now with is the 1115 waiver. So the 1115 waiver uses that at-risk definition as an eligibility criteria along with a bunch of other eligibility criteria, and lets us and other providers who are participating support people with a lot of housing benefit, actually. It can help with up to 6 months of rent. It has help with security deposit, utility assistance, other great housing benefits. And then also there's a food category and a transportation category. So we're learning and working about, how to serve people who are more in that at-risk category and not have not already experienced homelessness. And these are some of the ways that we're doing it. It's going well. The 1115 has a pretty steep learning curve. It's a lot of training, it's a lot of information, but here at HSC, and I think in some of our partner organizations, we're really getting the ball going now and are able to like really sort of understand and use it. All right, this is the time in my presentation, I actually should have said it earlier, when I should say, and I'm almost done, I promise, but this is the time when I need to say, eviction does not always lead to homelessness. And so, and in fact, most commonly, people who are evicted do not directly enter like the homeless shelter the next day. There's a little bit of a journey that people go on before they experience homelessness, and many people self-resolve. So not all people who are evicted will experience homelessness, but some will, and some will in a little while if they don't right away. This slide is some questions that are local to our community, and they're part of HMIS, Homeless Management Information System, and are asked by people who are entering into various projects, including theoretically the shelter and all of our permanent supportive housing and other projects. And these are, we're working to develop our knowledge about what brings you in today here to the homeless shelter, so, or to the homeless response system. So you'll see those reasons for homelessness listed there. A lot of those line up with the at-risk definition. So were you doubled up with families? Do you have, was your unit declared unfit? All of these sort of known reasons that people enter the system. We're doing this to learn. I'll let you know in some time when we have more data. We do have a pretty good universe of these filled out, but not a large enough pool to really know yet. This measure actually was in a different place in a different presentation. This is from our system performance measures. And these are the number of unique individuals who experienced homelessness for the first time for at least one night in each of those years. And so you'll see we were doing something well in 2023, and we're backsliding a little in the last year. And these are measures that we submit to HUD and keep an eye on as part of our commitment to making homelessness rare, brief, and one time here in Tompkins County. Thank you. I am happy to answer questions, but I know that kind of took a while, so.
No, Lydia, that was great, and appreciate that. Some of those numbers are really telling, and hopefully we can make this kind of an annual thing to look at these. I'll open it up to members of the committee for any questions. If you just be patient, raise your hand, and then I see Deborah first.
Yeah, this isn't really a question. I really appreciate all this information. It's very helpful, but I think what would make it even more helpful to us is to have information about what the median rent is for 1, 2, 3 bedroom apartments, to compare that to the fair market rent and what people can afford based on their income. Because the real problem, as I see it, is not knowing how much somebody can afford, but knowing how little of what's affordable is actually available to them.
Google tells me that the average rent in Tompkins County is $2,247 for a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
And I can add, the fair market rent is something people confuse a lot,
Right.
as that it's a moral, it's what's fair, and it's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 40th percentile of the market. So 60% of rents are higher, 40% of rents are lower. So it's a measured.
Well, that's even worse than I thought.
Yeah, so it's a measured number, but yeah.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, that's
Hey, Liddy,
helpful.
good to see you.
I think maybe planning can provide that information and help you with that. Thank you.
Deb?
Okay.
Another thing to add on that, Lydia had mentioned that's the average from a quick Google search, but we might be able to get more precise because the average is not the median.
Right.
And the average
Right.
can be skewed by the super luxury developments like
Right.
the Ithaca and Library Place and so forth.
But the 60-40 rule is really sobering. Thank you, David.
Mike Sigler, and then Veronica.
I have an off-topic question, so if I can just go at the end, that'd be great.
Okay, Veronica?
I have a comment and a question. Other than, thank you, Liddy, this is helpful. I also wonder, this might not be stats we can get, but even thinking about the rent distribution and statistics is important, and also how it shakes out for individuals is important. For instance, I don't know the distribution of rents and incomes in the county, but it could be that like there's a median rent for a 1-bedroom, and then there's 1,000 apartments that are a little cheaper than that, but there's 1,000 one-person households whose incomes are a little less or a lot less or a lot less, and so that doesn't match.
This is stuff that,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's basically like, any way you shake statistics can, like, they are important and they can leave out significant specific experiences. But my question was going to be, Liddy, can you briefly give, like, again, a layperson's explanation of the 1115 waiver, which is a Medicaid thing, right?
Yeah. Yes, I can. I can try. I can be brief. And there's a lot more information about it, including a whole recording I think I could probably send out from a homeless and housing task force. So 1115 waiver is a waiver for New York State that applies to a state for the next 2 years, and it's designed to save money from emergency visits and other high-cost Medicaid things by examining whether serving people by meeting their social care needs using Medicaid dollars, or their social determinants of health needs using Medicaid dollars, would help reduce those costs for healthcare, basically. So it's a waiver that says, we think we can save you money by better serving people with food, transportation, and housing, because those are social care needs that result in high Medicaid costs later. So that's sort of the background. And then it is for Medicaid members, so people who have Medicaid. And there's some specific additional subcategories that would make a person eligible for the enhanced services. Those include certain chronic illnesses, including substance use disorder and severe mental illness, pregnant and postpartum, and some other like enhanced populations. Anybody who's a Medicaid member can be screened. There's a very simple screening process. And then Care Compass is our social care network, and they are sort of coordinating it at a regional level, at a local level. Community-based organizations are doing all this training and able to basically bill Medicaid for some of these additional enhanced services designed to support those social care needs. Did I answer that question or make it more confusing?
Yes, thank you. That's very helpful. What is
and there's lots of details of like specifics. So
just one clarifier. You say it's a waiver. What is being waived?
It is the waiver allows these non-medical. I think this is the answer. I could be wrong, but I think it's whatever requires Medicaid to previously only pay for like healthcare related things gets. The waiver broadens it to include these social determinant of health things.
That makes sense. Thank you. And the retired lawyer in the room is nodding as well.
Okay, good.
I like retired legal counsel. So I guess we'll go to Mike Sigler for the last question before we move on in the agenda.
Right. This is unexpected and kind of off topic, but we've been hearing a lot about the Asteri building, and we met with a bunch of people like with your group, and it seemed like the supportive housing was doing okay, but there's still these big problems at the building. I didn't know if you had any suggestions on how we could improve those.
I mean, I think
it might be too big of a question today, but
yeah, it's a big question for here, but I'm happy to talk about it offline. You know, there's a lot of smart people working on it right now. I know it's like not worked on. So there's a lot of people at all levels talking about how to make those improvements. I think it's tricky for people to identify first what the problems actually may or may not be, and also what any levers may or may not be. And so, you know, the supportive housing folks like TC Action was on site the night of the fire and working really closely, brought in grief stuff for people, like scrubbing apartments. So I can say that the supportive housing people are doing their supportive housing thing right now in a distressing time in the building for folks.
All right. Thank you, Lily.
I agree that, you know, there's clearly, everybody deserves to live in safe, decent housing.
Well, without fires would be nice. It would, yeah.
Well, that would be safe.
Yeah.
Also decent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important in the conversation to recognize if fires are set because of arson or things like that, that necessarily those are things that are maybe outside of building control. Right. There are obviously some supports that are needed. And I think to Lee's point, there are a bright group of people trying to circle the wagon to get after this and to make sure that a transformative project like this doesn't become sort of a sore spot. But with anything new and anything to this scale, obviously there's going to be lessons learned, and we need to just keep working through it. And there's a time element, but obviously certain things need to maybe be done at a faster pace, and some things we need to be more reflective on. But I think it's important that we as a community remain supportive of the process and encourage, you know, continued improvement before we, you know, don't shine a positive light on this type of project. But it is in serious need of support at this time. But Lydia, I appreciate your thoughts and perspective, and again, thank you. And we're going to keep moving with our agenda. I see Donna here from DSS. Donna, just wanted to give you a chance while we're under homeless and housing to see if you have anything that you wanted to contribute today.
So I'm covering for Kit, and I was at a conference Monday and Tuesday. So for shelter update, there's a total, as of May 30th, we had a total of 94 individuals who were being sheltered. 81 of them were adults and 13 were children.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Any questions for Donna at DSS? All right, well, we appreciate you being here, and thanks for the update. As always, we wish we didn't have to hear those numbers, but it's a good reminder when we do that we've got work to do.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have the Planning and Sustainability Department with report and discussion from the Commissioner's June report. This is ID number 13336.
Great, thank you,
I'll turn it over.
Oops,
Katie.
you're right, okay. My only update today is to introduce you to our new planning administrator and housing and community development director. David West, to my side here, is rejoining the department. He spent almost 3 years with the planning department from 2018 to 2020. And then he went off for about 5 years to serve as planning director in the town of Danby. So got some significant rural experience, and most recently is coming from the city of Geneva as director of planning and economic development. I asked David to introduce himself and say a few words.
Hi, folks. I'm very happy to be back with Tompkins County. I really enjoyed the time I spent here before, and also getting a bunch of boots on the ground experience that I'm glad to bring back to county planning. Because I think that's really useful to have the municipal side and the county side, and I'm looking forward to bringing those together. Some other experience I got in Geneva was working with as director of the IDA and a local development corporation, which has some extra powers that I am looking forward to talking about, and bringing some new ideas and opportunities to the housing problems in Tompkins County. I'm really glad to be back walking to work here in the city and with this great group of people, so I appreciate you bringing me back. I have two updates from the department beyond an introduction to myself. And these will be things that will be coming to the legislature later, but I wanted to let you know we have two housing affordability and infrastructure grants applications in that we reviewed on Tuesday, one from the city of Ithaca and one from the town of Danby, both great projects. And we'll give you a fuller briefing on that coming up next month. And we also closed out our Community Housing Development Fund round. We'll be reviewing those applications. We have asks for $1.6 million from that program from 7 applications. I think it may be the largest round that we've ever seen. As we know, there's great need, and we have $3.07 million available in the fund now. So I think it's going to be an interesting round, catalyze some good projects, and I'll bring more information on that next time.
Awesome. Well, David, welcome. We're excited to have you. I think this is a great addition. And Katie, I appreciate the leadership from you and your department to really put housing and community development at the forefront with the focused staff position. And I know there's some other exciting things that David will be helping with in terms of grant administration and some other things that are critical to the department. But I'll open it up to members of the committee for comments or questions for the planning team.
You have to just talk.
Can't see. I have a question. So wondering if for next month when you come back, David, and welcome back. I saw you downstairs, so I said welcome, but welcome again. And wanted to know if next month when you talk about the affordability grants that are available to the smaller municipalities, if you could just say just a quick, because I can't remember if we've had a restatement of what that program is, so that might be helpful to refresh our memory on that, what, how that helps municipalities, what's available, how much, and things like that. And this is this is another thing, so I don't know if this is too much, but, an example, I think it was in Groton where that money was able to be leveraged. So maybe one example would be helpful. Thank you.
I could bring that back. I could talk about it now if you'd like. We could talk about it next.
It's up to Greg.
Yeah, if you have a brief statement on what that is that the $10,000 grant for municipalities? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yes, so it's fun because it started when I was here last time. I think we started it while I was here. I went to work for Danby. I think Danby was a recipient of it. So there's two options. Municipality can ask for up to $5,000 that staff can approve without coming to the legislature, and up to $10,000 requires legislative approval. I believe this year's budget has $20,000 for awards. I will say there is a lot of demand, especially as municipalities are hearing from consultants and kind of seeing the writing in the wall that things like CDBG funds may be reduced in future years. So people are trying to get things in the meantime. What a lot of municipalities use this for is to hire grant consultants to pursue community development block grant funds, which is a really complicated application. It usually takes $6,000 to $8,000 in work to put together one of these applications. They're very technical. And a lot of small municipalities just don't have the budget to pursue that. We've seen it go very well. I can speak from the first time I used it. We sought $5,000. We brought in $500,000. So it's a fantastic return that repaired, I believe, 10 homes in the town of Danby. And I know that a lot of other municipalities have similarly leveraged those funds to bring in a lot more money. So I think it's been an effective program, and it's a way that the county can get more involved with municipalities when they say, gosh, we really want your help. This is some direct help that they can give, and I think it's been popular for that reason.
Well, thank you for that. Are there any other questions in the room?
Just
All right, we'll see.
Just real quick, Greg, so do you think there's enough money in that, just because we're getting into budget season? Is there much, is 20,000 enough?
It's, yes, we requested that 20,000 be put in our budget because that seemed like a good amount. This year might be an anomaly, and if we get additional requests in, it might be something that we come to HED and ask whether there is willingness or interest in trying to fund that with contingent funds or some other mechanism. We have had years in the past where the money wasn't spent. So I think 20,000 I think is okay for now, but it's something to monitor closely. And this year, as David was saying, is people are in a bit of a panic that these grants won't be around in future years. So everyone's trying to get applications in this year.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, Katie, David, thank you for the time today, and thanks for joining us. And again, David, welcome back. Excited to maybe set some time up and chat, and looking forward to the great contributions you'll be making to the county. So thanks again.
Great, thank you. Anytime.
All right, folks, next up on the agenda, we have our arts, culture, and tourism. We've got a report. Sorry, someone in the room? Oh, okay. Sorry, we've got a report and discussion, Convention and Visitors Bureau CVB 2024 annual report. That's ID 13162. I will ask Peggy Coleman, President and CEO of the Tompkins County Chamber of Commerce, to come up and introduce her team, which I would try to do in person, but because being remote, if you could take care of that, Peggy, I'd appreciate it. It's a good seat, Peggy.
I know, I see that. I am not impersonating Greg Mezey today. Thank you for having all of us here today. We appreciate it. I know you've got a lot of important things to talk about. Tourism is one of them, and I'm delighted to have our part of our leadership team here to talk about everything that happened, or at least condensing 2024 into about 12 minutes, give or take, to allow also for questions and to help with your agenda timing. There's a few things I just want to remind everyone about. 2020, here we are, it's June, so we're already almost halfway into this current year, and a lot has changed, which seems to be, thank you, Captain Obvious, since January 1st of this year. And so we are keeping an eye on the changes, tracking how they are impacting our destination, trying to bring back the old pivot that we had to implement back during pandemic times to make sure that we are engaging and being mindful and producing the best results and return on investment to Tompkins County, to all of you and all of the residents here. So I am delighted to introduce Jody LaPierre, who is our Director of Visitor Experience, and Jody just celebrated her 28th anniversary working with the Chamber and CVB. To be here and to kick things off as far as our 2024 work.
Thank you, Peggy. So we're getting our screen booted up here, but visitation last year, we had traffic from all 50 states and 80 countries through all of our activations between our visitor centers, our offsite activations, and the other things that we do. So I want to focus a bit on the offsite activations because those are the things that take us out of the visitor centers and where the public is and where the visitors are, particularly particularly focused on events that are happening on the college campuses. So we're up on Ithaca College campus for Family Weekend, for prospective student visits, which is a really great opportunity to get in front of those students, as well as their family members, before they've even made a decision to come here or as they're making that decision, which gets them down off the hill and experiencing the community a whole lot more often. We also participated in meetings and conferences, particularly the Pennsylvania Bus Association, you can see on the screen there, which was hosted in June of last year. We also were at REI for their grand opening celebration. The next thing is our Ithaca Loves Teachers celebration. So in 2024, that was our 19th annual Ithaca Loves Teachers celebration, where we had two brand new events that both sold out. There was the Board Teachers Comedy Tour that came into the State Theater, and also the Tap and Craft Festival. The person that organizes that had reached out to us early in 2023 with the intention to bring that event to our community, specifically for Ithaca Loves Teachers. During that time frame in February, when it's a bit slower, which is the primary reason that we host this festival that month. But last year we had over 2,600 teacher downloads from 477 school districts. Wow. So this is the slide from one of the teachers, from one of the teachers that came last year, which just demonstrates the success that this program has had. Last year's economic impact numbers estimated to be about $301,000, which is a little bit lower because we base that off of the redemptions that are made, and we know those redemptions are a little bit lower because people just come in and flash their digital pass, and not everybody goes through the full process of redeeming their deal within the pass. This video that you see here too is one of the reels that our marketing team brought in. It was a teacher who was a content creator. And so this reel that you're seeing are some of the activities that that teacher participated in while they were here. I am going to pass it over to our Director of Marketing, Erin Rafalowski.
Thanks, Jody. Make sure everyone can hear me. All right. Here is an overview of visitithaca.com. Really, all of our marketing efforts are driving people back to the website and content on our website. What we're particularly proud of is that center 65K, over 65,000 outbound clicks to partner websites. So we're a resource that people use for planning. We're also an authority, a hub, and people are going to partner business attraction websites from our website. And the events calendar. The events calendar remains really one of the most popular pages throughout the year on the website. And what we also have seen is people are searching for events and things to do as a kind of primary reason they're searching. And the events have really, it's everything from festivals that we know to also smaller events that were very popular. So this is actually a picture from the Backyard Flea at North Star this past year, and that was during the summer. It was one of the events that saw like a lot of views on our website, and that was not a sponsored piece. So it was great to see that range of what people are finding. Website traffic trends. So hopefully you're able to see these. I know it's a bit small. These graphs are not in the annual report packet, but since we had the opportunity to meet with you, I did want to share a few things. So organic traffic is what you're seeing at the top, and that's a 12-month kind of peak traffic as we look at seasons, October through September. And overall, really we performed, especially in the peak seasons, there was a nice bump above 2024. And then the bottom graph is actually showing a comparison to how Visit Ithaca's website performs against other Northeast DMO websites and all DMOs, which would be an international picture.
What's a DMO?
destination marketing organization.
Okay, thank you.
Often we'll use DMO or TPA when we're talking about the CVB.
All of it.
So yeah, we're very-
MOUSE.
Yes, exactly.
So we're really proud. This speaks to Ithaca really as its own brand too. So you will notice we do a lot of, or you may or may not notice, but we do a lot of collaborative marketing and work with the region. However, we invest a lot in SEO, and we have a lot of very smart people kind of also reviewing those analytics for us. And the Ithaca brand really stands out even above Finger Lakes. So we do weave Finger Lakes in our work, but we will continue to kind of lead with like things to do specifically in Ithaca. Okay, why is there a bump in April?
Thank you.
Anybody notice that? We can't talk about 2024 without talking about the eclipse. So Visit Ithaca was kind of in a unique position. We started, I think my communications manager first went to an eclipse meeting like 18 months before the actual eclipse in Rochester. They were talking about it being on the path of totality. Ithaca was not in the path of totality, but we knew because we have a beat at the state level and with the other DMOs, and we were kind of in these, we knew that there was something was going to happen. We knew that there were traffic trends from other places that have been close to total eclipses. So we were like, what do we do? How do we leverage this? And no one really had anything to like compare it to. I will say this 13,000 website views, this was really great to see. So this was like partner, anything related to the eclipse, both our landing pages, events, and like blog posts. This was 13,000+ views. So what did we do? We decided to create our own event. We invited Carl Sagan's daughter, Sasha Sagan, to return to Ithaca, which she really enjoys doing as an Ithaca native. And in April, we were able to create an event at the Hangar Theater that sold 350 tickets. And I think you'll see, I was trying to remember those. 26% of those were from people outside of Tompkins County. We also organized in collaboration with the Science Center and the programs happening at Fairhaven Park. We coordinated to bring buses of people from Ithaca to Fairhaven that was in the path of totality. And those stories are so many cool quotes and stories. And what we heard, I guess anecdotally and from even our web chat, there were like families, friends, people that knew they were coming to Ithaca, maybe going to see their students, and then they kind of arranged travel plans based on some of the things we had happening. And all hotel rooms sold out on Sunday, April 7th. So that was our unique eclipse experience in April in Ithaca. And here's a picture of the hangar lobby with Sasha Sagan signing books. It was fun. That was another opportunity to collaborate with Buffalo Street Books to sell her book there. And people really came from all over. Winter campaigns. There are a few examples in the annual report document that you have. But we've definitely been continuing to focus on winter visitation, and we were in I believe the third winter season of collaborating with Cortland County. And it's been a really fun and I would say that it's really paying off. We're looking at our assets. So Cortland County has a ski resort, we don't. And we've been finding ways to invite content creators, create itineraries, do some PR outreach, and also a little bit of paid media too. And that's proven to be pretty successful, and we're looking at how we can continue on that momentum this year. I can say for the 24-25 winter, and a lot of that content was more created January, February of this year, we really leaned into activities that were not snow dependent. So we really talked up Ithaca as a place to learn something new, to do a hands-on project, and everything from poured candlebar to Gordlandia to workshops at Feel Goods. It was just it was really kind of a way to test that messaging, and we can plan to continue to expand on that this winter.
Have you thought about trying to get Cornell to do light in winter again?
I would love if people are having conversations about more winter product development, and I think especially leveraging our arts. We haven't reached out specifically, but I know we've been internally, we've talked about some of those past events and if there was
That was a
something
great
there.
program.
Yeah. That included. So 4 seasons of earned media. This is a fun picture, Taganic Falls State Park. That's actually a video crew that was here as part of our work with the New York State DMO Association. It's basically for a New York statewide campaign encouraging travel across New York, and they were featuring Paddle and More. But we hosted 7 top-tier journalists. We had 97 different businesses and attractions mentioned, and you'll see the video and photo shoots. And some of these things, it's all relationship building, so we're doing this work, and then often we may not be seeing this till the next season, or even if in a few months. All right. And here's just a few quotes from some of those articles in the PDF. All of the articles mentioned are linked if you want to click on them, but these were just a few highlights from those pieces. And social media. So social media has been wonderful for everything from brand awareness to actually like creating little itineraries, encouraging people to do more while they're here. This is kind of our overall account reach. We did a lot with short form video. This is a fun piece from last summer that performed really well. And we do a balance of creating stuff in-house and then also hiring and collaborating with both regional and like Northeast content creators that are really focused on travel, diverse family experiences, like focus on like, we look at their audience pretty carefully. And here's a few other examples. Pretty high engagement. We're particularly interested when people share these because that's a good indicator that they're interested or if they're tagging a friend to do something. And then here's examples of some of the collaborative posts. You'll see those views are often quite high, but this was a fun one. I'm going to point to, sorry, it's taking a bit to load, but Pustika, the one at the far right with almost 68,000 views. That was an example of someone that we actually had in the winter and then came back and did a summer reel just completely on her own, but wanted to collaborate with us because our reach had value to her as well. All right, 2024, I'm now going to pass it to Lisa Connerton, our Director of Sales.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you, everyone. So I first want to open with one of the biggest successes that we had, I think, as a community, opening the Ithaca Downtown Conference Center, opened July 1st of last year, so we have a birthday coming up in a few weeks. The numbers that you're seeing there, 40 proposals sent and 11 conferences booked. What that means is that we received 40 requests for bids from meeting planners or other groups that we responded to. And of those 40 in 2024, we booked 11 conferences. The 11 conferences that were booked were for the years 2024, 25, and 26. There is more information in your packet on page 23 with a lot more specific numbers that you can refer to with regards to the events that the CVB helped to book at the conference center. And again, as always, just a little disclaimer / reminder, all of the information that I am talking about regarding the conference center are things that the CVB assisted with. It's not always the full picture, so if you have additional questions to fill in gaps, happy to take those as I can, but this is just to keep in mind our information that we're reporting from internally. So in 2024, keeping with the conferences that we actually booked and hosted, the 4 conferences that were held between July and December produced 747 room nights, and of that room revenue total that you see there, that's over $23,000 in tax revenue. And that is just, again, from 4 conferences and 747 room nights. So we're anticipating that that is definitely going to grow, especially we saw that already in the first quarter of this year. What's really incredible is if you look at that booked economic impact. So those 11 conferences that I said that we booked last year, they produced an actual estimated economic impact of $2.16 million. That's almost double of what was booked last year. And that is attributed, that number does not only encompass the room night revenue, that is overall destination spend per person while they are here. And again, that is just, the increased number is attributed to those larger conferences. We're booking 200, 300, 400, and 500 people at a time into the center. Again, looking at the leads that we sent, or we were sent into, we got about 60 more leads in 2024, and that again is all of that previous business that we were not large enough to host. And the potential economic impact, again, the volume of the requests that we received, if we were to book all of those requests, we would have more than double the potential economic impact that we had in 2023. So aside from the conference center, we did have another community collaboration that I'm really proud to talk about. The Pennsylvania Bus Association brought over 150 attendees from the domestic motor coach market. It was truly a collaboration countywide. These logos of the partners that we worked with that you see up on the screen are just as, they're not even everyone that we worked with. But this was a great example and a great kind of test run for us to be able to see what we can handle and how we work together when we have these larger conferences. As you may know, when we have larger conferences, we're already working with the downtown hotels for additional venue space as well as Cinemapolis. And so above and beyond that, being able to work with all of these partners in different capacities to service the conferences that are coming in is really incredible, and just a testament to how well our destination works together. Rave reviews from everyone that was there, and I just had clients in town yesterday that said that it was one of the best PBA, Pennsylvania Bus Association conferences that they had attended in our destination. So kudos and thank you to all of our partners. And with that, I am going to pass it back to Peggy.
So, excuse me. So just another clarification. Those people who attended the Pennsylvania Bus Association, they are the people, they are the tour companies. So each of those 150 people potentially represents multiple motor coaches that can book through here, eat in our restaurants, visit our parks, stay overnight, and leave a lot of cash money in our destination, which then translates into sales tax and occupancy tax. Just to kind of wrap it up, tourism is economic development. I know you've heard me say that for nearly 10 years now, but this is new money that comes into our community. And if travelers were to disappear from Tompkins County, every single household in this county would end up paying $814 additional in property taxes to pay for the same services that they currently receive. Fire and safety, libraries, all of the tax dollars that support all those services, those visitors spending $35 million of those taxes are generated by visitors to Tompkins County. And this is not a typo, this is 2023 economic impact. Unfortunately, we are able to get the data from a contract that New York State, I Love New York has with tourism economics. And the lag time is always about a year. So we'll get the 2024 data probably about November-ish, fingers crossed if we're lucky. But things are really growing and booming, and the fact that Tompkins County is outperforming other destinations, and there's a few things that were presented in the program. The fact that we were not on the path of totality, but we outperformed every other place who did. The fact that we were able to track conservatively. We know that Eclipse weekend was almost like having another Cornell commencement weekend. Every place was sold out. We could only track what is reportable to us, but we know restaurants were sold out. We know I hosted the buses going up to Fairhaven State Park. I had visitors that had come from California, from Maryland, because they were excited about what was available here to offer. We're also looking forward. One program that we're especially monitoring is for our international visitation. The current geopolitical climate is challenging. Travel bans. We have other opportunities, though. In 2026, the U.S. is hosting, in partnership with Canada and Mexico, it's North America who's hosting the World Cup finals. And there are visitors who travel specifically, whether they have tickets or not, they just follow and want to see the destinations where their favorite teams are playing. So that is something we're keeping an eye on, trying to partner with our friends in New York City to be able to leverage those opportunities. Our direct nonstop flights from JFK into Ithaca is an important sales tool that we have. We've been talking about World Cup for a few years, similarly to talking about the eclipse for a few years. So there's some exciting things on the horizon, but we just want to make sure we are being factual, accurate, and responsible with the investment of the room tax in our organization. So thank you for supporting us and entrusting us, and we're happy to answer any questions.
I can start with one if that's okay, Greg.
Yeah, if we could just stop sharing so it's easier to see the room. But go ahead and please.
So I don't know exactly, I guess my question is, with the Ithaca Pride Alliance, with the Pride weekend, what assistance do you give them? I mean, I've just heard that you somehow are helping with
Yes, so I'll do the global, and then Aaron, if you have any specifics. The Ithaca Pride Alliance is a fiscally sponsored entity of the Tompkins Chamber Foundation. The foundation is a separate entity, separate tax ID entity of the Chamber of Commerce, because they are a non-for-profit 501c3. They are able to do this fiscal sponsoring. So that we are basically serving as their organization to be able to allow them to apply for grants, to be able to allow for fundraising, for someone to actually be able to make a donation, which is then tax deductible. In addition to that, Visit Ithaca, the division of the Chamber Visit Ithaca, has been a supporting sponsor in 2024, and we are again in 2025. We've supported with marketing materials to be able to push out the events. Aaron, I don't know if you want to share. I know we were talking about a digital pass last year, but they weren't quite ready to execute that.
Yeah, so we're collaborating. The IPA board, I'm not exactly sure how they're the organization, but they created a guest blog post of 10 ways to celebrate Pride Month that I think just went up on our website this week. And then we also, because we've had that relationship, we were able to do some pitching early. So they were listed, and I Love New York did an email social campaign, and Ithaca was listed as one of the top places in New York State to celebrate Pride this year, or it was like top events. And we're also going to be, we've hired a local content creator, not local content creator, videographer, Shira Evergreen, to also document some of the Pride festivities, and that will be footage that we can use for both future Pride, but as well as just Ithaca as an inclusive and welcoming community. So those are a few things.
I just want to add one more thing as well. If you go on the visitusa.org/UK website, one of the first blog articles that you'll see on there is Pride in Ithaca. We submitted a blog article that they're featuring on their website this month that's going to drive some UK traffic, and that was a great follow-up from the group that we just hosted here.
Can you repeat that? Visit
USA.
visit usauk.org. Or it might be visit usa-uk.org. I apologize. I can get you the accurate address if that's not working.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to add, we just added a category to our events calendar, and this is a result of conversations with both IPA and the Tompkins Chamber actually has an LGBTQ roundtable, and based on conversations and requests, we now have a category on our events calendar that's LGBTQ centered. So that was the language that everyone was recommending and had asked for. So it's not exclusive LGBTQ, but it's going to be another way to, I think what we're trying to develop is how to highlight Pride Month and then beyond Pride Month. Mm-hmm.
Great, because I've had friends and acquaintances start to ask me about, oh, maybe I'll come to Ithaca, and stay for that, because a lot of us go to different areas for these events. I've been up to the Thousand Islands for things. I've been attended the ones locally too, and so I'm sure this has been and is going to increase more hotel rooms and and generate more local activities. So I appreciate that.
Can I add one more Pride story? Do I have a minute? I'll make it quick. We met a meeting planner last year in Canada, in Niagara Falls, USA, that we hosted on an impromptu fan across the state of New York. She's from California and hadn't intended on staying. She did stop in Ithaca. She's returning. She did book an event, not in Ithaca, but in New York State, but she extended her trip from her event to come back to Ithaca and overnight on her dime and bring her son to visit the colleges, but they planned it specifically around Pride weekend. So they will be in town and they are here visiting, and very, very excited to welcome her back again. So we are spreading that message through that community as well.
Great, thank you. And then if I could ask a quick question. So with the county helping GARE, the Government Alliance on Race and Equity, with their conference here in October, are you guys involved in that too, and helping them put on that conference and access local restaurants and activities?
Yes, absolutely. We hosted the site tour
sorry.
for.
Could we just a couple inches away from the microphone?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's really okay. It's really okay.
Is that better? I know, I have a
4
loud
to 6
speaking
inches.
voice to begin with. So yes, we are assisting them. We hosted, their host committee came for a site tour, so we took them into various venues and other places around Ithaca. We're on the steering committee, so we attend calls, myself and our sales manager as well, and we're really just helping facilitate all of their logistics and making the recommendations to them so that they have the best meaningful experience possible while they're here, and it's been great so far. We're really excited that they've chosen Ithaca this year.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Other questions in the room for the Visit Ithaca and Chamber folks? All right, I don't see any. I'm going to maybe take a stab real quick. As always, I think this is my annual opportunity to thank you all for an industry that's near and dear to my heart. I know that, and for those of you that don't know or haven't experienced planning conferences and events and destination marketing promotion, things like that, it's a long game. The work that the team here is doing today will pay dividends 2, 3, 4 years from now, in addition to servicing work that they, laid the groundwork for, in the 21, 22, 23, right? The reason we see the success of these conference bookings was not because the phone rang last year, but because several years ago we made the connections, we got people comfortable with Ithaca. And so it's really important that we continue to support this work, not for the immediate nature of things, but for the long-term impact that this has. As you saw, over 3,000 employees in the tourism sector, which is a strong number. They're good jobs, right? They're not entry jobs. They can be great careers, and they can be great entry jobs too, though. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you. This is really good work, and I will say that, whenever it's come to tough times or difficult decisions as it relates to funding or budgets, especially with the STPB, the CVB and the chamber has always led by example, has always stepped up, has always found ways to make it work. And I think they should be commended for that. So you guys are doing an incredible job, and we have a great destination because of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, folks. Any committee members' reports? Seeing none.
I just wanted to Greg, just remind legislators, since it has to do with housing, I sent out an email reminder a day or two ago regarding the ribbon cutting at Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services, the ribbon cutting event at Village Grove in Trumansburg. I believe that's on the 17th at 1 o'clock. So I hope folks can go. And if you're going, we'll need to carpool because the housing is occupied already. So we'll just, we can figure out some carpooling and hope folks can go.
Thanks for that reminder, Ann. Veronica?
Yeah, I can go, so I'm excited. Great. Thanks. Not a report, but a comment. Just that we had 2 presentations today about homelessness and risk of homelessness and our tourism industry, which thank you all. It's like incredibly well produced what you do. And I would like to say that I did scan my Ithaca Loves Teachers pass correctly all the times I redeemed things. And I don't have a particular statement or question other than the homelessness issues and tourism industry are both connected to places people sleep overnight here and some overlapping people and our local economy. And I think I often have them in different buckets in my head, but that is not helpful. So I guess I want everyone to hold them both simultaneously in our head for a minute. I don't know where that's gonna go, but investing for future years, the CVB is doing with their relationships.
And do we want to mention maybe, sorry, Veronica, did you want any response or feedback for that, or was that?
No. I mean, I'm open to it. But no, I am complete.
Okay. And do you want to mention about the corner house, the new dispensary that's opening up on June 20th at 3 p.m. They have a ribbon cutting. I know that's in your district.
Right. Actually, I just sent you an email before this meeting that I'm probably going to be out of town that day and asking if you could go in my stead, Greg, to help with speak at the ribbon cutting. So it's a marijuana dispensary that's newly opened on Route 96, right next to Mama Said Hand Pies, which is a place I go to have coffee and hand pies, and you can get to-go stuff there. So just want to encourage folks to shop locally. So yeah, that dispensary, they had a soft opening, and this will be their ribbon cutting on, like you said, the 20th, I believe, at 3 p.m. And everybody's invited. Are you going to be able to go to that, do you think?
Yeah, I have it in my calendar, and it was one of the things I wanted to try to mention to the group is the chamber and various folks do a great job supporting ribbon cuttings of new businesses or new lines of business that our local small businesses are in. And I would encourage everybody, if they're not already signed up, to get some of the chamber information. If you see something, go. I saw Dos Amigos has one coming up in Collegetown. I'm going to try to be at that one. I just think it's a good thing for us as an economic development committee to trying to be more supportive, and it's a focus of mine for the rest of this year to try to get out to more of those type of events. So hopefully as others can work it into their schedules, that would be, I think, appreciated by all those involved, because it takes a lot to bring new business to life, and we should be celebrating those accomplishments.
Right, and I see our role as legislators as also to be ambassadors for the community.
Absolutely. All right, well, with no other comments or discussion, it is 4:26, everybody. You can recapture some time today, and appreciate you all being here. And again, thanks for understanding with my remote attendance. Have a great day, everybody. We're adjourned.